Hi students, my name is Nikhil Kumar and I've got two editorials for you. In fact, both of them are from the Hindu newspaper and I will be doing the analysis in this session. Both the editorials were published on 16th of November 2021. So what we are basically going to understand is how to approach these editorials. They are quite difficult to understand, looking at the high level of writing which these editors employ, and we will also understand the meanings of some tough words which usually these editorials do throw at us, and how to understand the longer sentences, okay, which these editorials again offer to us. So let's have a look at them. In fact, I have got two editorials here in front of you. So you have editorial 1, which is about the extensions given to the heads of CBI and ED. The other editorial is on Australia winning World Cup T20. All right, I think both look great. So let's get started. This is my editorial on Australia winning T20 World Cup, and I've divided this editorial into two parts. So this is the first part, the first paragraph, and then we'll go to the second paragraph as well. All right, so I have already highlighted some really tough words in front of you. Let's have a look at them and also try to understand the editorial in the process. So this is the editorial here. It says a return to form on Australia's T20 World Cup win. Sounds great. Return to form. Obviously, we saw that Australia was not the favorites, although we know Australia can win big contests, but we also know that it has not been doing that well in the past T20 World Cups. So it's kind of return to form. In T20 World Cup win, Australia is seeking to revive the fortunes of a rugged outfit. Now, what is rugged? Rugged is, you can say, uneven or rough or smooth. Okay, uneven, rough or smooth. So rugged outfit are your clothes. So uneven, rough or smooth clothes, what does it mean? That you are going through a bad phase. खराब समय चल रहा है, it's a bad phase, okay, and you want to revive the fortunes. What do you mean by revive? एक बार फिर से जान डाल देना. तो आपके पुराने उधड़े हुए कपड़े हैं मान लो, जो आपकी क्रिकेट की फॉर्म है, और उसमें फिर से जान डालनी है. So Australia's reiteration is repeating same thing again. Australia's reiteration of its cricketing prowess. I've already given the meaning, superior skill or ability. मैंने यहाँ पे एक sentence भी दिया है. We boasted about our conquests, our athletic prowess, athletic ability, athletic skill, which is in superior form, and how much money we are going to make once we had graduated. So okay, so this is just one sentence for you, which again employs the word prowess. So Australia's reiteration of its cricketing prowess, so you know it has got a very superior skill when it comes to cricketing, was the overwhelming theme. What is overwhelming? Overwhelming is something which is very intense and hard to deal with. So let me give you another sentence. If I thought the amount of publicity I had gotten so far was overwhelming, it was nothing compared to after our first win. So overwhelming, कुछ एकदम से, you know, if something is bombarded at you, something is thrown at you in huge quantity which you can't deal with that easily. So that is in a way what it means to, what overwhelming means. Okay, overwhelming majority voted against his proposal. So what does it mean here? Overwhelming majority, बहुत बड़ी तादाद में, majority वैसे भी बड़ी तादाद में होता है, but overwhelming means कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा, as if like in the last election BJP got, or maybe Aam Aadmi Party got, I think 67 seats it got. All right, so overwhelming majority. ठीक है, Australia's reiteration of cricketing prowess was the overwhelming theme of latest ICC 2020 World Cup. I'm sure you all have seen this World Cup. Finals also, although India was thrown out of this contest a long time ago. So after the domination of West Indies waned मतलब कम हो जाना, धीरे धीरे खत्म हो जाना, waned in 1990s. So earlier West Indies used to dominate before 1990s, and then it waned. जो उनकी सुप्रीमेसी थी वो खत्म होने लगी. It was Australia. that claimed top dollar in the willow game. What is willow game? Willow means the wood. Okay, it's the wood which is used to make the cricket bats out from. Okay, so willow game, cricket के जो bat है उसकी बात हो रही है. Willow game before England, India and New Zealand at varying points highlighted their superiority. So it was Australia that claimed top dollar in the willow game before England, India and New Zealand at different points highlighted their superiority. Okay, so previously England had shown how great it is. I mean, I think it won almost all the games in the last World Cup. And all right, and different teams have already proven their mettle here. To make it worse, the 2018 ball tampering controversy you may be aware of sullied Australia's reputation, means ruin someone's reputation. I have another sentence for you. He rather spoiled the beginning of the debate, sullying it with a bit of party politics. तो क्या किया इसने? He rather spoiled the beginning of the debate. उसने debate खराब कर दी. कैसे करी? Sullying it means ruining it or marring it or spoiling the reputation with a bit of party. उसने पहले party politics पे बात शुरू कर दी. And that is how he spoiled the debate. ठीक है. So sullied means ruining someone's reputation. So obviously ball tampering हुई है तो कोई अच्छी चीज़ तो हुई नहीं है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए वर्ल्ड चैंपियंस रहे हैं ये. And if a cricket team like Australia gets involved in ball tampering, then obviously, I mean, it will ruin their reputation. And at home, twice it lost Test series to India. So these are the bad things which happened to Australia. To make it worse, 2018 में ये हो गया था. उसके बाद 2 बार वो इंडिया से हार गई. Its recent performances were middling. Middling means mediocre. The performance was middling at best. So mediocre performance. But when frenetic means fast and energetic in an uncontrolled or wild way. So all of a sudden, let's suppose आपके घर पे 10 मेहमान आ जाते हैं. You were not expecting any of them to come, but all of a sudden you have 10 guests at your house, and you have to prepare cook food for them. So how it will happen? It will be very frenetic environment. जल्दी करो, फ्रिज में देख रहे हो, कहीं से कुछ निकाल रहे हो, अरे ये नमक नहीं है, अरे वो चीज़ नहीं है, चीज़ खत्म हो गया. Okay, these kinds of things are happening. But when frenetic cricket, so यहाँ पे एक और sentence है, the game play is fast paced, designed to push the player into increasingly frenetic situation. ये बिल्कुल T20 के लिए apt description होगी. The game play is fast paced, designed to push the player into increasingly frenetic situation. मतलब समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या कर रहा है, बहुत fast और energetic और uncontrolled wild way में सब कुछ होता है. When frenetic cricket became intrinsic to the UAE, intrinsic means integral और कोई चीज़ inbuilt है, natural, मतलब ये उन्हीं की हो चुकी है. I've given another sentence for you. Cutting brings out the beauty of the diamond, which is one of its intrinsic qualities. भाई diamond की quality है ही beauty, but cutting उस ब्यूटी को अच्छे से निकाल के लाता. और ये ब्यूटी कौन सी? ये इंट्रिंसिक क्वालिटी है उसकी, नेचुरल या इनबिल्ट क्वालिटी है. विच फर्स्ट होस्टेड द रिमाइंडर ऑफ द इंडियन प्रीमियर लीग. तो अब कैसे बोल रहा है ये कि ये इनबिल्ट क्वालिटी बन चुकी है इसकी? बिकॉज इट फर्स्ट होस्टेड IPL and then conducted the T20 World Cup on behalf of original host India. So it was Australia that had the last laugh. अब देखो ये सेंटेंस क्या है. ये सेंटेंस में बहुत सारे मॉडिफायर्स हैं. ओके, इट्स रीसेंट परफॉर्मेंसेस वर मिडलिंग, बट व्हेन फ्रेनेटिक क्रिकेट गेम बिकेम इंट्रिंसिक टू द UAE, इट वॉज ऑस्ट्रेलिया दैट हैड द लास्ट लाफ. ये बीच का पार्ट आप मिस भी कर सकते हो. सो व्हेन यू गेट सच लॉन्ग सेंटेंसेस in the editorial, you should know that these modifiers can be ignored. They come between the commas. ये extra piece of information है. ये किसको describe कर रहे हैं? ये describe कर रहे हैं the UAE को, कि इसने होस्ट किया था. क्या होस्ट किया था? IPL होस्ट किया था और T20 वर्ल्ड कप भी होस्ट किया था. बस इतना बता रहे हैं. बट सेंटेंस कितना है? Its recent performances were middling, but when frenetic cricket became intrinsic to the UAE, it was Australia that had the last laugh. Last laugh मतलब आखिर में तो वही जीता. Okay. Then we have Aaron Finch's men won the championship on Sunday after defeating New Zealand in the final, and it revealed a welcome return to form and supremacy. Supremacy is ultimate authority. I've given a sentence here. A ruling king has supremacy over his kingdom. Of a rugged outfit. So it returned to form and supremacy. It returned to two things. It revealed a welcome return to form and supremacy of a rugged outfit. यहाँ पे हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं rugged outfit. Seeking a turn around in its fortune. Fortunes यहाँ पे सितारे समझ लो. सितारे गर्दिश में थे, बदल गए वो. Warner's runs. Mitchell's chutzpah is an interesting word. Chutzpah is fearlessness. Okay, I admire their audacity, but their chutzpah and sense of priority scare me. तो chutzpah मतलब बोल्ड होना एक अलग चीज है, बट हद से ज्यादा बोल्ड होना, दैट इज chutzpah. ओके, किसी को आग में बचाने जा रहे हो, ठीक है, बट आप के सामने आग लगी हुई है और आप उसके अंदर से निकल गए, दैट इज chutzpah. ओके, नेक्स्ट लेवल की चीज है chutzpah. देन वी हैव वेड्स pyrotechnics. Pyrotechnics is, you can say, बहुत ही, you know, he gave you a very brilliant show, or he simply stole away the show, let's say. Fireworks, involving fireworks, so that is pyrotechnics. So छक्के चौके लग रहे हैं, so that is pyrotechnics, especially in a semi-final against Pakistan. And then we have Zampa's guile. Guile is very cunning, okay, very clever. All combined to propel Australia to the pinnacle, peak of success in the T20 format. So I've given the sentences for guile and pinnacle here also. You can see people were drawn to Fisher's energy and generosity. His absence of guile, his almost childlike enthusiasm. So if there is no guile, you are very innocent. Okay, so being guile means you are not innocent, you are very clever and cunning. Pinnacle, you have now reached the pinnacle or top of your career, peak of your career. But New Zealand was not far behind. Runner, okay, so इन 3-4 प्लेयर की तारीफ की है इसने, तारीफ करने के बाद ये आ गया, but New Zealand was not far behind. Runner up, obviously, final में तो पहुंचे ही हैं. Runner up in the 2019 World Cup, this year's ICC World Test Championship winner, and now emerging second in T20 World Cup, Williamson's men showed that they are most consistent unit across formats. So yeah, I mean, I accept the fact, in fact we have to accept the fact that New Zealand couldn't win the World Cup, be it this time or the last time, but it has been performing very consistently. और तारीफ कर रहा है New Zealand की, ठीक है, करने दो. Then we have Trans-Tasman Summit clash may not have been a last over. So Trans-Tasman आप बोल सकते हो न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच एक ट्राइबल अग्रीमेंट है, उसको ट्रांस-टैस्मैन बोलते हैं. सो हियर व्हाट इट refers to is Australia versus New Zealand. Okay, in a way it's just saying Australia versus New Zealand, that's it. Summit clash may not have been a last over humdinger. So आखिरी ओवर तक तो गया ही नहीं, 6 बॉलें बच गई थी, they won the match. So it was not remarkably excellent. Humdinger is remarkably excellent. So I listened to your radio play Sunday night and it was a humdinger. मजा ही आ गया, मतलब नेक्स्ट लेवल का मजा आ गया. But it had its soaring moments, and Williamson's 48 ball 85. So out of 48 balls he scored 85. We know Williamson was a remarkable innings. Obviously, as good as 12 runs per over, high on urgency, but one that did not sacrifice its innate. Again, something which is inborn or natural batting aesthetics. Aesthetics is related to beauty and art. I've given a sentence here also. The illustrations made the book an aesthetic success. So when it comes, so it was a success in the terms of beauty. Innate का एक और example दिया है. People have the innate ability to speak, whereas animals do not. All right, great. It was much akin to, much similar to Jayawardene's unbeaten 103 against India in 2011 World Cup. इसमें भी श्रीलंका हार गई थी, obviously. However, just like Jayawardene's effort, Williamson knock also got shrouded in defeat. So we can see it. Shrouded means overshadowed, छुप के रह गया. If Australia and New Zealand proved to be the last two teams standing, credit is also due to Pakistan. So obviously Pakistan performed really well. It lost only one match to only one match, and that too to New Zealand, and it was out of the tournament. Okay, all right. So credit is also due to Pakistan, often deemed a maverick. What is maverick? Maverick is a rebel, someone who shows a lot of independence. So एक इंसान का नाम था Maverick. What he used to do, he was, I think, he was in the business of breeding cattle. तो गाय भैंसों को जब भी आप चराने के लिए भेज देते हो खेतों में, so that they can feed, graze. So what happens? You put some mark, okay, you stamp or you put a seal on their body that this cow, this buffalo belongs to me. ये मैवरिक भाई साहब ऐसा नहीं करते थे. So he was going against the norm. So वहाँ से निकल के आया. मैवरिक means a rebel, someone who shows a lot of independence. So भाई वो अलग ही है लोगों से. So he's a week from retirement, week away from retirement, and he seems to be something of a maverick. अब भाई एक हफ्ता बचा रिटायरमेंट में और आप कुछ अलग ही चीज़ कर रहे हो. So रिटायरमेंट खत्म होने वाला होता है तो आप क्या करते हो? ओके, नाउ आई विल जस्ट सिट बैक एंड रिलैक्स. ओके, इस तरह की चीज़ें कर रहे हैं. या जो पैसे आपने बचाए हैं, नाउ यू वांट टू गो टू कंट्री साइड एंड यू वांट टू बाय अ हाउस देयर अवे फ्रॉम द हसल एंड बसल ऑफ द सिटी. पर ये भाई तो कुछ और ही कर रहे हैं. मे बी ही वांट्स टू स्टार्ट अ न्यू बिजनेस. वो लोग, अरे यार ये तो मैवरिक है, अलग ही काम कर रहा है कुछ. ठीक है, गुड. बाबर आजम्स मेन प्रपोज विद बैटर जमान एंड लेफ्ट आर्म स्पीडस्टर Shaheen Afridi leading the revival. Okay, so he's giving the due credit to Pakistani players who actually ensured that Pakistan comes across as a good team, a transformed team rather. On the flip side, the exit of the defending champion West Indies and India's ouster bahar nikal diya, reiterated sports unpredictability. कि भाई West Indies और India जैसे teams, they could not qualify for semi-finals. They were out of the contest at a very early stage. So what is ouster? Ouster is the act of ejecting someone or forcing them out. Okay, so this shows that the game is very unpredictable. It shows its unpredictable nature. It was the end of an era for the West Indies, with some of its T20 stars like Bravo and Chris Gayle walking into the sunset. ठीक है, अभी इनका तो टाइम एरा खत्म ही होने वाला है. Okay, while so they are likely to take retirement now. While India's meltdowns against Pakistan and New Zealand jinxed its campaign. What is jinxed? Jinxed is something which is accompanied by misfortune. So आप बोलोगे यार ये कार तो हमेशा ही खराब हो जाती है. Jinxed है. इस ग्राउंड में मैं कभी मैच नहीं जीत सकता. Jinx, this ground is jinxed. So I think this computer must be jinxed. It's always breaking now. So let's understand the sentence. While India's meltdowns again in Pakistan and New Zealand jinx its campaign, okay, ever since it landed in England on June 3, India has been on the road, and with IPL being part of the schedule, fatigue, thakan, was evident within the ranks. But this edition was not just about winners and losers, so it has something more to offer. What is that? Afghanistan. So you know what is happening in Afghanistan. Okay, Taliban once again made a comeback here. So things were chaotic here. The entire country is in chaos. But still, Afghanistan turned up despite the turmoil. What is turmoil? A violent disturbance, chaos. इसकी भी sentence दिया हुआ है मैंने. The economy is surely in turmoil when the markets behave erratically. Erratically is you can't predict it. Okay, erratically people lose their jobs and no one understands why. Okay, so despite the turmoil or chaos back home and seeking relief through cricket. So lovely editorial. I mean, it talks about a lot of things. It talks about Australia, how it wasn't doing that well in the past and how it came across as a better side than all of the teams. And it also talked about Pakistan, it also talked about West Indies, and eventually it also talked about Afghanistan. Okay, and it also talked about T20 as a format, that how unpredictable it is. So very balanced editorial, and I can see that a lot of points have been covered here. Time to go to our next editorial. Here it is. I hope you can see it. In case you haven't gone through it, please pause the video and go through the editorial, and then I shall take you through this editorial and also let you know the meanings of the tough words, and also let you know what is the main argument, main idea of this editorial. All right, yeah. Okay, assuming that you are through with this editorial, let me start its analysis. So here we have exception to the rule, okay, on extension to heads of CBI and ED. So we have the heads of these two agencies, CBI and ED, and these heads have been given extensions, and this has been called as an exception to the rule. Allowing yearly extension to heads, so एक साल की दोनों को extend कर दिया गया है कि आप और काम करो एक साल. To heads of CBI, ED will compromise their autonomy. What is autonomy? Self-rule, basically meaning self-rule. But what it means is, autonomy means if you have the autonomy, you can take the decisions on your own. Okay, you don't have to rely upon anyone else. आप खुद से decision ले सकते हो. क्यों भाई, क्यों compromise हो रही है autonomy, decision लेने की power क्यों compromise हो रही है, अभी देखते हैं. The new law, also I have given a sentence to you, the many nations under the empire's rule enjoyed considerable autonomy. So once again, the power to take decision, the authority to take decision in return for supplying the empire's wealth. तो किसी कंट्री ने मान लो मेरे ऊपर, मैं भी एक कंट्री हूँ और एक दूसरी कंट्री ने मुझे कॉन्कर कर लिया, so I'm supplying my wealth to that country and in return they are allowing me somewhat freedom. Okay, ठीक है, that is what this sentence means. The new law authorizing an extension of the services of the heads of CBI and ED until they complete a total tenure of 5 years will seriously compromise the autonomy of those agencies. ये जो लिखा हुआ है ग्रीन में उसी को रिपीट किया है इसने कि इनका एक साल बढ़ा दिया है और this can compromise the autonomy. It goes against the spirit of Supreme Court judgment. Okay, एक हो चुका है पुराना केस in Vineet Narayan versus Union of India 1997 sorry, which laid down a dictum. Dictum is an authoritative declaration. एक law है, मतलब कि सीधा एक डिसीजन ले लिया और वो एक लॉ बन गया है. सो एज एक और मीनिंग होता है डिक्टम का. डिक्टम ऑल्सो मीन्स सम वेरी फेमस लाइन. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एज सारा वेटेड इन द अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट लाइन, शी रिकॉग्नाइज द ट्रूथ ऑफ द डिक्टम. एक बहुत ही फेमस लाइन है, क्या है? लास्ट हायर्ड फर्स्ट फायर्ड. तो वो डिक्टम उसे याद आ गया. सो डिक्टम ऑल्सो मीन्स अ वेरी फेमस लाइन. डिक्टम ऑल्सो मीन्स एन अथॉरिटेटिव डिक्लेरेशन. Laid down a dictum that directors of CBI and ED should have minimum tenure of 2 years. अच्छा, minimum तो 2 साल होने चाहिए, ठीक है. यहाँ पे बढ़ाए गए हैं, जरा देख लेते हैं क्या बात है. This was to prevent the sudden transfer out of office if their functioning goes against the interests of the regime of the day. What is regime? Regime is nothing but ruling government. So let's suppose you are the head of CBI and you have taken some decision or you are carrying out some sort of investigation which is not good for the government. So what would they want to do? They would want to transfer you, but they can't transfer you because there is a law, minimum 2 years. Okay, so if you really want to go against the government, provided the government is at fault, maybe there are some politicians in the ruling government who have involved in some sort of corruption and you want to expose them, you want to carry out investigation as the head of the CBI or ED, you can do it. 2 साल तक आप कोई टच भी नहीं कर सकता है. तो अच्छा रोल है, मेरे को तो बढ़िया लगा. While it did not specifically bar longer terms, तो इसने बोला 2 साल मिनिमम है, मैक्सिमम कितना होगा इस पर कोई बात कही नहीं है. The prospect of getting an annual extension can be an incentive for delaying regime loyalty in discharge of their duties. अच्छा, ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सेंटेंस है. While it did not specifically bar longer terms, मिनिमम 2 है, मैक्सिमम नहीं पता. The prospect of getting an annual extension can be an incentive. What is an incentive? Incentive है कि आपने कुछ अच्छा काम किया तो आपको हम फायदा पहुंचा रहे हैं. तो अगर आप बहुत लॉयल रहे हो गवर्नमेंट, रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट के लिए, then this can act as an incentive कि भैया आप हमारे लिए काम करो. Okay, I mean the editorial is saying so that we are the ruling government. आप हमारे लोगों को टच मत करो, ऑपोजिशन वालों को टच करो. Okay, you want to carry out investigation, carry out against them, not against us. And as an incentive, what we'll do? We will extend your term. Significantly, in the case of the present director of enforcement, S.K. Mishra, who was appointed for 2 years, in November 2018, his services were extended by an order on November 13th, which amended the original term of appointment from 2 years to 3 years. तो 1 साल इसका पहले बढ़ चुका है, but ये पुरानी बात है. that the changes were brought in through the ordinance route. अच्छा जी, ordinance route क्या होता है? अच्छा, कुछ words की meaning मैंने भूल गया बताना. Prospect is a very easy word. Still, let me tell you, it's a probability of something happening fabulous in future. So prospects look great. Okay, if you have passed out from Harvard, the prospects look great. Anyway, ordinance. What is ordinance? Ordinance. There is a problem with ordinance, that ordinance it doesn't go through that journey which a bill has to go through. तो bill होता है, what happens? Bill is laid down in the upper and lower house. उसके बाद वो pass होता है. It doesn't happen like that. It's a temporary law and it is directly passed. Okay, so it is sent to the president and the president approves it and then it becomes a law. So it doesn't go through that procedure which that journey which a bill would actually go through. So ordinance क्यों पास होना चाहिए? Ordinance तब पास होना चाहिए maybe the parliament is not in session and it is an emergency और हमें करना पड़ेगा ये law और हम वेट नहीं कर सकते पार्लियामेंट का सेशन स्टार्ट होने का या रिज्यूम होने का. So then it makes sense. बट ये कोई इमरजेंसी तो है नहीं भी किसी का टेन्योर बढ़ाना है. व्हाट इज सो अर्जेंसी अबाउट दिस थिंग? देयर इज नथिंग. ऑलराइट, सो ऑर्डिनेंस के थ्रू पास किया, मतलब आप चाहते नहीं थे इस पे डिस्कशन हो, आप चाहते नहीं थे इस पे डिबेट हो, चाहते ही नहीं थे कि बिल की तरह जाए. सो व्हाट डिड यू डू? यू बाईपास ऑल दैट प्रोसीजर. सो ऑब्वियसली इट साउंड्स अ बिट फिशी. That the changes were brought in through the ordinance route in November raises a doubt whether government is keen on retaining him at the helm. Helm means person in charge. The president is at helm of the ship of state. Okay, so in charge. So भाई इतना अफरा तफरी में आप ऑर्डिनेंस पास करके उसका टेन्योर बढ़ा रहे हो. अगर वाकई में कोई ज़रूरत थी, you could have you could have gone through the standard procedure, the standard journey. Bring it as a bill. Let there be a discussion. Let it go through the entire process. Why an ordinance? Probably शायद आप उसे रखना चाहते हो. Maybe. Again, the editor is saying so. Given that the central agencies have drawn much criticism for their focus on personages. Personages आपका हो जाता है VIP persons linked to opposition parties. Given that the central agencies have drawn much criticism. So usually CBI or ED, they are usually criticized. What for? They are criticized for the fact that आप opposition वाले VIPs को target करते हो. Okay, this happens many a time that they do get criticized if they they raid an opposition leader's house. Okay, such a measure will be seen as a reward for guided functioning. कि भाई maybe let's suppose, I mean I don't know, it's for me it's a hypothetical situation. Let's suppose as per the editorial कि जो ईडी है का हेड है या सीबीआई का हेड है, ही इज वर्किंग एज पर द गवर्नमेंट्स इंस्ट्रक्शंस. ओके, एंड ही इज गोइंग अगेंस्ट द ऑपोजिशन एंड ही इज नॉट टचिंग द गवर्नमेंट पीपल. ओके, एंड व्हाट हैपेंस देन? उसके बाद आपने क्या किया? खुश होके इनाम में क्या दिया? चलो भाई 1 साल का एक्सटेंशन और ले लो. Such a measure will be seen as a reward for guided function instead of a necessity to keep ongoing investigation on track. जो इन्वेस्टिगेशंस को ट्रैक पे रखना था वो काम तो छोड़ दिया आपने तो सरकार के हिसाब से उसकी कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से चलना शुरू कर दिया. As it is, the fixed tenure for certain posts means their superannuation is, you can say, the monthly payment made to someone who is retired. Okay, within that period will not end their term. In effect, there is an implied means बोला नहीं गया है बट आप डिराइव कर सकते हो, उसका मतलब यही है. In effect, there is an implied extension for an officer appointed to one of these protective posts if the appointment comes within 2 years of retirement. Okay, a further extension will take the officer's services well beyond superannuation, that to 1 year at a time, and this will give rise to the heads of 2 investigating agencies unacceptably beholden, means under a moral obligation to the government. तो ये क्या बोल रहा है एडिटर बोल रहा है कि ये तो आप ऐसे तो फिर सुपर एनुएशन का टर्म भी आ जाएगा पर उनका तो टेन्योर एंड ही नहीं होगा. एंड कैसे होगा? आप तो बढ़ाते जा रहे हो. एंड दे विल बी इन अ वे ऑब्लाइज्ड टू द गवर्नमेंट क्योंकि आपने उनका टेन्योर बढ़ाया है. ऑल्सो मिस्टर मिश्रा's case, the Supreme Court declined to interfere with 1 year addition to his original term of appointment. Okay, Supreme Court is saying okay fine, I don't find anything wrong with it, it's okay, you just go ahead with it. But also said that extension of tenure granted to officers who have attained the age of superannuation should be done only in rare and exceptional cases. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस केस पे तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम या कुछ ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं जताया है, बट हाँ कहा है कि आगे अगर ऐसा होता है तो रेयर और एक्सेप्शनल केसेस में ही होना चाहिए, एंड दैट द फर्दर एक्सटेंशन शुड ओनली बी फॉर अ शॉर्ट पीरियड. सारे सब्जेक्टिव टर्म्स हैं, शॉर्ट पीरियड होना चाहिए, रेयर होना चाहिए, एक्सेप्शनल होना चाहिए, हमें नहीं पता क्या है इसका मतलब. It also made it clear that no further extension shall be granted to him. Okay, it is possible that government will abide by this order and not give the benefit of the amendment to Mr. Mishra, but it does not render the act of authorizing year-on-year extension to future appointees as any less detrimental to the public interest. तो माना मिस्टर मिश्रा के लिए वो और साल ना बढ़ाएं, ये मान सकते हैं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कह दिया है, सरकार ऐसा ना करे, बट इट डज नॉट मीन कि ये दूसरे हेड्स के लिए नहीं करेंगे. हो सकता है दूसरे हेड्स के लिए एक के बाद एक और साल देते जाएं और बदले में वो सरकार के नुमाइंदे बन के रह जाएं. अगेन एडिटर इज सेइंग सो. द प्रोटेक्शन गिवन बाय अ फिक्स्ड टेन्योर एंड द यूज ऑफ अ हाई रैंकिंग कमिटी टू रिकमेंड अपॉइंटमेंट्स एंड ट्रांसफर्स वर मेंट टू डाइल्यूट डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ प्लेजर. डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ प्लेजर क्या होता है? डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ प्लेजर होता है कि जैसे प्रेसिडेंट डिसाइड करता है कि हाँ ये मैंने अपॉइंट किए हैं, ओके, सिविल सर्विसेज में, एंड इफ द प्रेसिडेंट वांट्स ही कैन रिमूव देम आल्सो विदाउट गिविंग एनी रीजन. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ प्लेजर. ऑब्वियसली ये ब्रिटेन ने अपनी सहूलियतों के लिए ये लॉज बनाए थे, जो एंड दीज हैव बीन बोरोड स्ट्रेट अवे बाय द इंडियन सिस्टम. सो द प्रोटेक्शन गिवन बाय अ फिक्स्ड टेन्योर, फिक्स्ड टेन्योर था कि 2 साल है ना, उससे कम ना ज़्यादा. अच्छा काम कर रहा है तो 2 साल से पहले आप हटा नहीं सकते हैं, और 2 साल से ज़्यादा काम कर रहा है तो वो ऐसा भी नहीं कि दैट पर्सन बिकम्स अ वेरी फेवरेट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. ओके, तो बहुत ही अच्छा लॉ था. एंड द यूज ऑफ हायर रैंकिंग कमिटी टू रिकमेंड अपॉइंटमेंट्स एंड ट्रांसफर्स, ऑल ऑफ दिस मेंट दैट दिस डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ प्लेजर कि मैंने चाहा तो बना दिया, मैंने चाहा तो हटा दिया, ये वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है खत्म हो सके. However, it may be breached. It may be breached with this extension. It looks like that it may be breached if the extension allowed in exceptional circumstances becomes the rule. So as of now, it is just an exceptional case. But what if it becomes a rule? So very amazing editorial. काफी कुछ सीखने को मिला. Doctrine of pleasure मिला हमें सीखने को. Okay, and ED and CBI के heads, I mean, they have got a fixed term of 2 years. I didn't know this earlier. Now I know very well. And why is it so? That also I get to know. And if their tenure is extended, what possibly it could mean, that has also been told to us. So brilliant and lovely editorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, should you have any doubts, questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them. And keep watching my videos for more editorial analysis. In fact, I will be doing the analysis of both the editorials of the Hindu newspaper on daily basis. So if you are interested in these kinds of analysis, you want to learn more and more words, you want to understand the inside stories of these editorials, then follow my channel, subscribe my channel. All right. Okay, then take care. Goodbye. Keep working hard. Study hard. Bye.